you see? Where's he going? Whoa, wait a minute. Grizzly boy, what did you find? Well, this be the place. We are socked in. It's foggy up here. We're in the clouds. Grizzly really wants to get out. Let's get him out. Are you ready to get out? You want to get out? Are we going camping? That's one of his favorite words. Camping. Grizzly and I are in a loop. There's a couple little campgrounds tucked in. This isn't an established campground. It's public land. We're at the top of a mountain where it loops and it heads back down. So we're exploring a couple of different sites that are up here to see if we can find something that's going to be optimum to set up the Alaknak and just do a quick overnighter. Just me and Grizzly up here at the season's end before fall really sets in and takes a hold. This is nice. This is turning out to be exactly what I wanted it to be. There's nobody up here. It's the end of Labor Day weekend. Everybody's headed down the mountain. They're going home. They got to go to work tomorrow. I have one day off and I've found another spot. I've got a fire pit that's already established. I've got an area where I could set up the Alaknak possibly. The Alaknak takes up a bigger footprint than you think. It is a 10 by 12 or 12 by 12, but once you set out your guy lines and everything, 12 by 12 turns into more like 16 by 16. Keep that in mind. Grizzly, come on. Grizzly and I are going to have to make a decision here soon. Grizzly and I have got to figure out where we want to set up camp and start setting up camp. The one that we're in right now, it's pretty nice, but it's on a really radical slope. So that's going to make sleeping kind of not fun because we'll be on a really bad angle. So I'm going to make one more quick look around with Grizzly, see if we can find something, and if not, this is just going to have to be it. I've already put my beanie on, like I said, because it's cold out up here. We've definitely lost some temperature. Let's go see if we can find a spot to put up the Alaknak. Grizzly, where are you going? Where are you going, Grizzly? What do you smell? Where are you going? Crazy dog. Whoa. Whoa. Wait a minute. Grizzly boy, what did you find? Grizzly started following this little game trail and he found a nice little spot. Got a fire pit, got a little log over there that I can do log stuff with. Let's go see how we get in here, Grizz. Come on. If I can get in here with the truck, Grizzly may have found us a camping spot. Really nice and flat right there. Just enough room that I can get the Alaknak in. Let's see how this ties in. Yep, I know where we're at, Grizzly. We splashed through that big puddle on our way in the Ford. This is cool. The truck is that way. We're gonna go get the truck and come back here. I think that's gonna be a lot better for us than up here. This is a lot flatter. It's gonna make a much better tent area. You don't wanna be, you don't wanna be on a hill, even on a cot. Yeah, no one needs that in their life. Flat. Grizzly, let's go get in the truck. You're all dirty. Maybe I'll make you walk. Cool. This be the place. Now we're gonna get the Alaknak set up, get the stove in it, and get some fire going. Okay, cool. We have the Alaknak set up mostly. You roll it out. I always try to keep the door, when I roll it up, I roll it so the door is last. When I put the roll out on the ground, I can see the door. And that gives me a reference on, okay, how do I want to position this tent? You know where the door is, you know where you want to put your tent. Then you roll out your tent, you get it squared up how you want. You may have noticed that little cutout on one side of the tarp. I cut that out because I fold it open, and I'll show you when we get inside, because you can unzip the floor underneath the stove and that way you're not melting the bottom of your floor of your Alaknak. You could also get like a welding blanket. They also sell stove mats that you can put underneath it. I think I'm just gonna pick me up like a small welding mat from like Harbor Freight or something. Then I stake down the 4 corners, and I just stake down everything loosely. I don't get everything really tight, because when you run in there and you put that center pole in, it puts a lot of tension on that tent, and you don't want to have all this perimeter poles, all these guy wires super tight, because if you have them super tight, you're going to rip a hole in the top of your tent, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that later. So just keep the guy wires taut, but not super tight, just enough that the thing ain't gonna fall over. Then take your pole, go in there, put it up in there, and then you can go around like I'm gonna do right now and tighten up all of the guy wires and make them nice and taut. Then we'll get the stove in there and we'll go from there. Once you get all 4 posts set up on your corners, then you can start going through and putting your poles in on the sides. These poles are aftermarket. I fabricated them myself. There's this little pin right here, and there's a hole in the bottom, and this pin goes in that pole to keep tension on it, keep it stabilized. And these poles are almost a hair too long. I had to make these poles, and there's a story behind it. This is actually the second Alaknak that I've owned. I owned one prior to this. I was looking on the local classifieds online, and a guy said that he had the vestibule for this. So I went out to his place to look at it, rolled it out, and lo and behold, it was not the vestibule for this tent. It was this tent. I already owned an Alaknak. I didn't need another Alaknak. But this was a brand new Alaknak. Brand new tent body, never been used. And the one that I bought used from a friend at work. And he was like, "Oh dude, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "You didn't know? No problem." He bought stuff wholesale, like he would buy pallets of stuff from, insurance companies. Say a semi truck rolls over on the freeway, and his company would go in and buy up all the damaged goods. So he didn't know exactly what he had. And I told him, I said, "You have the tent body. If I paid you $200 for this tent body, I would be ripping you off." And he said, "Dude, I'll take $200 for it. It's my bad. If you think you can make use of it, go ahead and make use of it." And I sat there and I hummed and I hoed and I hummed and I hoed, and I gave him $200. So I brought it home. So I then decided I would sell my other Alaknak, because I have this Alaknak and it's brand new, but I needed poles. Honestly, I tried looking online at Cabela's website. Very difficult to find the poles. I couldn't find them. I found one place that could make me the poles for like $400 or $500, and I was like, no. Well, my son at the time had a lathe. I made the plastic fittings out of Delron. I spun them out on the lathe. My son taught me how to do it. He did a couple with me. And then I spun a couple out, glued them in with epoxy into this piece of electric conduit. So that is how those stakes came about, because I just didn't want to sell some aftermarket pipe. I mean, I don't know if anybody would really know or honestly care. I guess it depends on who the buyer is, but I didn't care because I had a brand new tent body. So another little tip, if you buy the roof tarp, it goes around the stove. I always install it, most of it, while it's on the ground, because it's really hard to clip up on the top when the tent is erected. All right, now the Alaknak's pretty much set up. We're gonna go inside. We're gonna start putting the stove in, getting the chimney up through the chimney hole here, and get a fire going. A buddy of mine that I go camping with out to the desert, I think he was the one that initially started this tarp on the ground, and it makes you a front porch. The tarp is a little bit longer than the tent. It's just as wide. I like having a chair here, and then I can take my muck boots off, and I don't have to drag any of that inside my house. Now you can kind of see the cutout from the tarp into play. Bare earth below. At one time I even had a sheet of plywood that I'd sometimes lay down like in the winter. But I like putting the tarp down. It just keeps the rocks and sticks from getting the other side of this tent body. I'd rather a $15 tarp take the blows versus a $1,000 tent. Everything fits inside this stove. I've got a shovel, got a poker, hand broom, log tongs. This is just flue vent. That's your that's your thing, you know. This is my spark arrestor that goes up top. There's some Amazon links below. It's really nice. That way I can just have a good fire. I can stir it and stoke it in the middle of the night. And then tomorrow when we go to leave, I'll broom it out all onto that dirt right there. Put everything back in here and put it back in the truck and home we'll go. I had bought some extra pieces because the last time I didn't have the chimney quite tall enough. The embers were casting down on the roof protector, which is fine. That's what it's for. The less I beat that up, the better. Usually I'll have my son with me, and one of us will be working the outside of the tent while someone's working the inside of the tent. That also helps with taking your shoes on and off so you keep the floor clean. Because when you're out here in the outdoors, you're gonna get dirt in the tent. But I try to control it as much as I can. The less I drag in there, the less I have to clean up. Now we can go back inside and hook it all together. Because if I hook it all together inside and then come out here, the spark arrestor's way up in the air, I can't get it in. He's been such a good boy. He wants to go inside so bad, but I won't let him yet because I don't have the floor tarp in yet. But in a minute I will, and you'll be able to go in, but not yet. Perfect. Got the chimney up, got the stove in. We're getting a little bit of light rain. The forecast here is supposed to change over the next few hours. All this cloud cover is supposed to blow out. Tomorrow is just supposed to be gorgeous, blue skies. I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping. Keeping my fingers crossed. I'm gonna get the painter's tarp rolled out in here. I ended up not going with the Alaknak floor because it's like $100, and I was able to pick up a painter's tarp for, I don't know, 30 or 40 bucks. Pretty good size, and does the same thing. I just roll it out into the corners, and that just keeps the heavy traffic off that floor and keeps that floor nice. So I'm gonna go roll that out so Grizzly can come inside the tent because he keeps wanting to come inside the tent, but I keep telling him no, and he's starting to get a little angry with me. These windows are kind of cool on the outside. They've got these little louvered covers. Not louvered, I guess. It's just a flap that comes out and it just attaches right to your guy lines. These aren't the guy lines that came with the Alaknak. These are some that I bought. It's actually glow-in-the-dark rope. The original rope is black, or at least mine was, and I didn't like the black because when I'd get out in the middle of the night to take care of a few things, I'd hang line myself on it. So these, at night, I'll walk around with my flashlight and I'll juice them up real good before I go to bed, or maybe while people are up and still walk around the campfire and walk around the tents and stuff. And I'll juice them up and they glow. Keeps it safer, keeps it a little nicer. I'll put a link down to this rope below. This is kind of going to be an armchair review, pros and cons. I've really enjoyed the Alaknak by Cabela's Outfitters. It's done me well. I've got a little stove that came with it. It really changes camping when you have a stove inside your tent. It takes it to a completely different level. So no matter what kind of tent you get, whether it's an Alaknak, a Kodiak, a canvas tent, a bell tent, it just changes you to a different level than your regular department store tents. Now these things aren't cheap. They start around $800-900. This one right now I think is now retailing for $1,000, whereas a couple of years ago, along with everything else, it was less. It's got its pros and its cons. Pros, it's really light. I think it packs in at about 70 pounds, which is light for a tent of this nature. Con, this is a polyester fabric. It's not a canvas tent, but again, that's why you get the lighter load. Another con that I have about this tent is the center pole. On 2 different tents, I've had that center pole push out the top. And I think a little bit of it was pilot error on one occasion. I had all of the exterior poles too tight. And then I went in there to put up the center pole and I was trying to scoot the floor covering. And I was lifting that pole up just like half an inch just to try to get the floor to roll underneath. And I popped it right through the top. The next time that it happened was during a windstorm out on the desert. The desert can be vicious. It can be beautiful, calm, but there's no trees. We go out there and do long distance shooting because it's so open and it's so vast, it's so flat. There's nothing for miles and miles and miles and miles. It's so flat that when the winds decide to pick up, boy, they can get rolling out there. It was the middle of the night. The wind came through over the top of the desert and pole went right through the top of the tent. And so we ended up just tearing down the tent. It sucked. I was really frustrated. I was really upset. My friend had a Kodiak tent. His did just fine in the wind. His has a bar that goes from front to back across. It's an entire ridge line, and I just feel it took the bearing of the wind. It just took all that force of the wind and spread it out over the course of the tent. I like the durability of the Kodiak tent, and I think that's probably the route that I'm going to end up going here soon. Back to the roof. After the roof tore, I went home and I took a knee patch that you would patch up your knee with, and I ironed it on. Well, I stitched the seams, the 4 seams back together again, like 4 slices of pizza. Then I ironed on that denim patch, and then I hand sewed that denim patch in just to try and reinforce this top here. I hand stitched that roof back together on this one here, and it's brand new. So the pros are, it's light, it's packable. You could easily split it up amongst 2 guys, 3 guys preferably. Kodiak, you'd probably have to figure out how to split that up into 4, and I'm not sure if you could dice that quite that small because the tent body alone is so heavy. And you can watch the other video right here on the Alaknak versus Kodiak. But the biggest positive that the Alaknak has is it's 30 pounds lighter than the Kodiak. So if you're doing deer hunting and you're going into the backcountry and you want to pack this thing in, this is a good tent, especially if you're in trees, because you have so much, the trees are going to protect you from the wind. But if you're going to be somewhere where you're going to be dealing with high winds, I don't think I'd go this direction again. And that's why I'm going to go with the Kodiak. But it's been a good tent. Make sure you hit that like button below if you found anything good from this. Subscribe if you haven't already. And comment below. Tell me, do you have a canvas tent? Which one? How do you like it? And maybe I'll get one and I'll review it. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.